It had been a particularly snowy winter in Alaska. Lolita Marlin trudged through the snowdrifts on her snowmobile, grumbling about it every time and looking forward to the arrival of spring. Her house was right by the woods, and the elderly woman, no matter the season, always enjoyed the spectacular beauty of the wilderness. Of course, the road leading to her house was not a pleasant one, but Ms. Lolita tried not to pay much attention to it. She had recently moved here and hardly considered herself an old-timer. The fact was that after 15 years of working a saleswoman's job, Ms. Lolita's health had deteriorated rapidly. Her cough, shortness of breath, and high blood pressure caused her to reconsider her attitude towards life in general. The endless medical examinations, the therapeutic and prophylactic treatments, none of these worked, and in the end they left the old woman feeling dejected. Fortunately, among a panel of doctors, there was one physician who advised Ms. Lolita to change her place of residence and move to an area with clean air. Thus, selling her place in Louisiana, Ms. Lolita bought a house in Alaska, where, away from the hustle and bustle of the metropolis, she could finally breathe clean air. A lumber yard keeper, Lolita lived like a true hermit, feeling at one with nature every second of the day. In time, Ms. Lolita became addicted to fishing and spent all her free moments on the lake. She rarely went to the store, preferring to stock up on groceries, especially during the winter when the beautiful landscape was covered by snow. One day, while atop her snowmobile and on her way back from shopping, Ms. Lolita saw a small gray beast running across the well-trodden path. In the process, the mysterious little thing was nearly run over by the skids of the snowmobile. Ms. Lolita stopped and looked around. The old woman got off the snowmobile and, seeing a series of small footprints leading into the bushes, stepped closer. Among the thickets covered with a thick layer of snow, Ms. Lolita found a little deer calf watching wearily through its beady eyes. "Hey, little baby, what are you doing here alone in the middle of the woods? You must be lost. Or did you get caught by surprise in the blizzard?" Ms. Lolita asked excitedly. Of course, the wild creature couldn't give the elderly woman, who was trying so hard to become friends with her, an honest answer. All of a sudden, the brown calf climbed up on his paws and, wiggling his black nose from side to side, began breathing in air, noisily. Ms. Lolita turned around and saw a bag of groceries lying in the basket of the snowmobile, and understood at once. "Oh, you must be so hungry, right? Give me a second, little guy, I'll be quick," said the elderly woman. She took a folding knife from her pocket and cut off a grass strip for the deer calf. The calf, grunting happily, accepted the treat, almost biting down on her finger. When the deer calf had eaten enough, it crawled out of its hiding place in the bushes and fearlessly approached the old woman. "Well, what am I supposed to do with you? I can't leave you in the woods. You'll die out here. Come with me. I live alone," suggested Ms. Lolita, and put the animal behind the pouch on her down jacket. To her surprise, the deer calf behaved calmly, as if he'd ridden in a snowmobile all his life. When she arrived at the house, Ms. Lolita opened the door, and pulling the little forest animal out from behind the pocket, invited him inside. The little deer pluffed up at first, ruffling his fur as he smelled an unfamiliar odor coming from the woman's home. Then he shook himself off as if to clean himself up, and stepped hesitantly over the doorstep. "Look at you, all well-mannered, just like a real lord. It'll be your name, won't it?" Lolita said in admiration, and closed the door behind her. The deer calf warmed up in the heat, and, after eating another portion of nuts, laid down to sleep by the fireplace. He didn't look like a wild woodland animal. He looked like a puppy, thought Ms. Lolita, wiping away a tear. Lord lived in her house for about a week, and then, when the weather improved, he begged to go outside. Once there, after giving Ms. Lolita a long, grateful look, the deer calf ran off into the woods. "Well, I guess he must have felt the call of his ancestors," sighed the old woman, watching the calf fleeing. The deer calf had been gone for about 2 days, and when Ms. Lolita had mentally bid him farewell, the wild animal came to her himself. He found the old woman at the lake, where the woman, taking advantage of the good weather, had decided to fish. "So, you remember, you little brat," exclaimed Ms. Lolita, petting the deer calf. In response, Lord turned, twisted, and licked the old woman's cheek. From then on, the deer calf paid periodic visits to Ms. Lolita, mostly in the evening hours after her arrival coincided with the worsening weather conditions, which would consistently bring blizzards and cold weather to the area. For this reason, Ms. Lolita jokingly called Lord a barometer for his innate sensitivity and alertness. One day, the deer calf came not alone, but with a guest. Looking out the window, the old woman was dumbfounded. Beside Lord stood another mature deer who seemed to be Lord's mother. "Wow, that's one pair you could paint a picture of," Ms. Lolita whispered admiringly, keeping her eyes on the deer family. Afterward, the old woman often saw deer tracks not far from the house. Apart from her stealthy presence, however, the deer mother gave him no trouble at all. Ms. Lolita told no one about her friendship with the deer family, cautiously maintaining the mystery of her great guests. As time went on, Lord was growing into a fit teenage deer. One evening, while cleaning the house, the woman heard a loud, piercing moan outside the window. Ms. Lolita opened the door wide to see Lord and his mother standing 50 yards from the house with their muzzles up. The wild animal moaned loudly as if trying to share their forest secrets with the sky. Much to the old woman's surprise, Lord refused to enter the house again, and after a minute or two, disappeared with his mother into the woods. "What's the matter? I wonder if he was offended or something," Lolita thought, then closed the door, forgetting to turn the key in the keyhole. The woman believed that in such a remote area, nothing could possibly hurt her, and thus she often neglected her own safety. Unfortunately, this evening, this habit played a cruel trick on her. Lolita did not notice the 3 men approaching her house, looking around anxiously and opening the front door. "What a stroke of luck, it wasn't even locked," muttered a nasty, smoky voice that belonged to one of the unexpected guests. Who are you? What do you want?" asked Miss Lolita nervously at the sight of the heavily armed visitors. Her response was a blow to the chest with the butt of a shotgun. "All right, old woman, that was so you could understand this a little better. We need to eat and warm ourselves up, and if you do as we say, you'll live," replied one of the bandits, who seemed to be the boss. What the bandits did not know was that Ms. Lolita was no coward and lunged at them with her fists. The robbers, however, due to their superiority in numbers and Ms. Lolita's old age, were able to quickly knock her down and throw her to the floor before tying her up. At that moment, Lord's lean silhouette appeared in the doorway and attacked the uninvited guests with a furious snarl. The robbers were confused by the sudden appearance of a teenage deer calf. Lord fought fiercely, seeking to tear his attackers to shreds. And the first to come to his senses was the boss, who, raising his rifle, shot the deer calf in the side. There was a loud pop and a sharp smell of gunpowder in the air. Lord, wounded, fell to the floor, refusing to let go of the bandit's ankle clamped in his horns. The rapidly expanding pool of blood beneath his body clearly indicated that he'd been hurt badly. "Hey, woman, what even is this? Why are there deer here?" shouted the chief, kicking the bound old woman. At that moment, the robber shifted his gaze to the door, and a cold shiver ran down his spine. What he saw was a huge brown deer looking right back at him. She was there to help her son and friend. The vicious wild animal threw the robber to the floor with lightning speed. The other 2 accomplices took this opportunity to start running away, but the mother wasn't going to let them. While the robbers screamed in pain and fought off their predator, the deer calf lay on its side, breathing heavily. Miss Lolita, who miraculously managed to free herself from her restraints, gave Lord first aid and bandaged the wound. "Come on, old lady, let us go. I give you my word. We'll go quietly. We won't hurt you. We escaped from prison and we don't want to go back. Let us go. Have some mercy," grunted the boss with the mother deer standing beside him. But Miss Lolita was relentless and immediately called the police. When the police arrived on the scene, they immediately arrested the robbers and took them to the police station. The wounded Lord lay in front of Lolita on the floor, on the verge of death. Ms. Lolita never left the deer calf, doing her best to help it survive. The deer mother was also there, warming her baby up with her body. 3 days later, Lord was gone. The mother deer owing to her animal instincts, stopped eating and drinking after the death of her deer calf. This made her look frail and thin. The mother outlived her pup for only 5 days and died from the exhaustion caused by the unspeakable anguish and pain of losing her firstborn. Miss Lolita buried the deer family on the hillside not far from the house, which offered an excellent view of the woods where the deer calf loved to forage in the evening. Sitting by the fireplace, Lolita Marlin often recalled her first encounter with the little deer in the woods.